I was thinking about the show and the new show, Judge Jerry. If there was this vision for Judge Jerry and you being on daytime TV, settling people's conflicts, why not just leave on the Jerry Springer Show?
Well, we could, but since I wear, the robe,
right?
We don't want food to get on the robe.
That makes sense.
The cleaning bill would be just unbelievable.
That makes a lot of sense.
So they decided, no, they honestly, if this thing fails, it's all my fault because, NBC Universal did everything. I mean, they put us in every market in America. They built a courtroom. They've gone all out. So I have no excuses. And
you just have to perform now.
Yeah, which is always a lot of pressure.
Do you have a bald bailiff that beats the shit out of the defendant if they get out of line?
No, he has dreadlocks.
Okay.
Yes. No, but otherwise, yeah. It was funny because when our bailiff is Najid, and he's really good. He's really smart. He was an accountant and also worked in corrections. So, he's a real good guy. And when I was interviewing, who was going to be the bailiff, and they finally gave me 3 people and interview them and see who you're most comfortable with. And then after I did the interviews, and I liked them all, but I kind of liked this guy a little more. But the producers, who are all women, were sitting in the room with me afterwards, and they said, who do you like? And I said, well, they're all really good. And they all said, well, this Najid, he's... And I'm saying, why are you guys all... He says, because they told me the show needs some eye candy.
Oh.
That's so insulting to you, though.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
why
you
would you...
very much. I said, excuse me?
Right.
Do they not... Who do you think the guy is sitting up on the bench? If I'm not eye
Somebody
candy...
somewhere finds you attractive.
Yeah.
Well, only one woman, and she's been married to me for 46 years.
Right.
So,
and she found you attractive at one point.
Yeah. Well, frankly, she doesn't see that well. But I told her I'm really attractive.
Yeah, she takes your word for it.
She doesn't even know I'm Jerry Springer. She thinks I sell insurance. Yeah, I didn't tell her. Who'd want to be married to me?
So did you think that you were done on TV after we were like, okay, we're done with the Springer Show?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm, on a serious note, I'm 75 and I was ready. All my friends are retired and I was ready to kind of hang it up. And then about a month, 6 weeks at most, before the last taping of the show, Sean O'Boyle came into the office. He's head of sales at NBC. And he came in and he says, I've got this idea. Would you consider doing a Judge Jerry show? Because you're a lawyer. How about being a judge? And I thought, for 12, 14 seconds, yeah, I'll do that. And because it was exciting, because that's the only thing I really have been trained to do. I mean, my career has gone in wonderful ways, and I'm very appreciative, but I've never done anything I was trained to do, except be a lawyer.
You actually know the law.
Well, unfortunately, I graduated law school 50 years ago. Yeah, actually, that's true. 51 years ago, I graduated law school. And then I practiced for a bunch of years. But, when I went back to my old law books now, so I can be up to date, they all have to do with a horse and buggy, knocking someone over. Mm-hmm. It's a different age today. So I've had to do I had to do a lot of studying. It's like going back to school and being a lawyer again, doing the research. I kind of enjoy it.
That is funny to do all of that schooling, and then your job is just midget paternity tests.
Yeah. Well, I took that in the 3rd year of law school. Yeah.
So after the show was during your 6 weeks of, okay, I'm done, I'm not on TV, did you...
Well, I knew we were still... the Jerry Springer Show will go on forever because we have 5,000 episodes. So it's still on, even new episodes that people haven't seen.
Oh, really?
Oh, so the show's still running. It's just that I'm not taping anymore because we have such a backlog of
plethora.
Wow.
Of
I'm
just
so
a ridiculous
sorry.
catalog.
That's how filled with trash this country is. It'll never end.
Yesterday, this is God's truth. Yesterday, I went into this store to buy a gift for my sister's birthday, and this woman who was showing me around and suggested that I pick this item up, And then as I was leaving the store, she says, if she had a little bit of an accent, and she says, if I can just tell you something, she was from Uzbekistan, and she said 17 years ago, her family came over to America, and the four of them, none of them spoke English. And the first thing they learned English by watching my show. She said, I mean, she was trembling.
Her first words were, bitch, you know what I want.
Yeah, and I said, wait a second. She says, yes, this got shoot. They kept watching the show. And I said, why did you stay? I mean, if you came to a country, the first thing you saw was that, wouldn't that scare you and say, you know what, we don't belong here?
Would you ever have those moments where you're like, wait, the stuff that we're doing, like there are people that this is what's shaping America for them?
Yeah, but that is the glib answer. But the truth is, if you're a grown-up, there's nothing that's ever been on the show that you don't know already exists. I mean, they're in the newspapers every day. Today, they're in social media every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing shocking anymore. You may be shocked or surprised that this happened to someone you know.
Right.
That could be a surprise. Yeah. But there is no circumstance I could tell you about that you would say, I never knew that was possible or that happened.
That's
I mean,
true.
You walk down any street in America, you know, I can go one block and I've got 20 shows.
That's true. Yeah, it's just
it's true, but they're all there.
But
in fact, you were great last
week. To get people to talk about it on daytime TV. That's the difference. You're normally like you're channel surfing on daytime TV, and you guys have always been so good at titling the show and just putting it in the corner.
Oh yeah.
So the minute you click on, you just read the corner, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. The person that titles your episodes and the New York Post headline writer deserve like Pulitzers.
Yeah, it's the same person.
So did you, when you, especially, I think in like I'd say the late 90s is when your show became the cultural phenomenon that it grew to be.
MTV Spring Break.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Spring Break.
Springer Break.
Yeah, MTV did that.
But that's when people started. I mean, I feel like that was the beginning of cancel culture before there was social media. That's when people were coming after you and talking about the way that you were shaping the youth of America. You were destroying the country is what people felt like.
But I never knew, and this is true, I never expected that a guest on my show would become president. I mean, that.
Obama was on your show.
If I'm angry at Trump, it's only because he took my show and brought it to the White House. I should get paid for that.
You know, it really is true. And I was talking to I think one of the people who was on House of Cards. And I was, go for it. And I was like, House of Cards is this crazy, dramatic, nut show.
Oh, yeah, that was great. Yeah.
And I go, are you worried in this last season that the stuff that's going on in the real White House now is way crazier than anything you can portray on television?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I'm not too worried. And then nobody watched the last season of House of Cards because they got it on the news every day.
Yeah. So that is true. And the truth is, our show isn't shocking to anybody. When you can't complain about our show when you look at what the kids are doing on social media. I mean,
right.
it's a different age, period.
Right.
But the Judge Show, it's a real court show. And what I didn't know, because I hadn't watched these shows, is these are all real cases.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because the Jerry Springer Show, a lot of entertainment goes into the Jerry Springer Show. We all know this.
Yeah, but the stories are always real.
Uh-huh.
Once they get in front of the crowd chanting, they embellish their reactions, but the fact situation is always true.
Right.
The lawyers are all over that. It has to be.
So, but on the court show,
yes,
we're not doing the Jerry.
No, I go out before the show starts. I go out and talk with the audience, and that's when it's the Jerry stuff. And then I say, this is a courtroom now, and my decision has legal validity. In other words, they can't then go to a court of common pleas and appeal it.
Right.
So the decision I make really affects their lives. So I got to be, I'll joke around a bit because I can't help it. But when it comes time to making the decision, it has to be based on some law. And so then they do behave. I mean, they'll laugh once in a while, but it's not the chanting stuff. It's a real court show. And these people that are, and this is true of all the court shows, they don't know they're going to be on television, because how it works
they just get wheeled in there. They're like, how is Jerry Springer my job?
When they file the case, they don't know. Because what happens is we have what they call stringers, and all the shows do. And every morning they get up. Everyone is assigned to 2 states in the union. And every morning they get up, go to their computer, and look at every case that has been filed in their 2-state region. And if it's an interesting case, they call the plaintiff and the defendant and say, would you like to have your case adjudicated on national television with me as the judge? And if they say yes, then we fly them to Connecticut and we do the case. So when they're filing, it's a lawsuit based on something that is going on in their life that they're upset about. They're not saying, oh, if I file this suit, I'm going to get on television. It's a 1 in a million chance that you're going to be called to be on television.
And it's rare, like they wouldn't even consider it.
Oh, no, and a small claim. So, yeah.
I love the people that are like, I'm deathly serious about this, but you're goddamn right, I'll take the trip to Connecticut.
Well, to see Stanford, of course.
Yeah.
You know, my first TV credit was a court show. I was on Street Court with Judge Maz.
Well, is that right?
Yeah, and it was a fake case.
That was fake.
Yeah, it was me and Ricky Velez going against each other, and the whole case was made up that I black out and left Ricky with the bill, and he was suing me for the difference.
You can always tell the difference between the fake court shows and the real court shows.
Yeah, but I don't think they're even allowed to do the fake
I will say,
anymore.
Judge Maz was pissed. he figured out we were kidding like midway through, and he was livid with his producers.
So he didn't know.
He didn't know, yeah.
Yeah, but now, the times
called me a
have changed.
banana brain.
Because legally, you can't just portray things as...
These are real cases.
So, with all the court shows that are out there, is there a fight between the stringers to try to figure out who's going to get the best cases?
No, I mean, because you know what I mean? There are a million cases filed every day in this country.
Yeah.
So, no, there's no...
So, is what happened that all these articles come out that say Judge Judy is the highest paid person on television, and you're going... What the hell? I'm Jerry Springer. I need to be behind the bench.
No, well, they gave me the bench because they figured you can't throw a bench. The chairs, if this wasn't chairs, they would never do that again.
That makes sense.
I volunteer. I don't, I can't take any more money. No,
come on.
It's just, that trip to the bank, it is so exhausting.
No, yeah, I understand.
If you're ever looking to sponsor a, out-of-work comedian for just a cup of coffee a day.
Do you have, when you were done shooting episodes of The Springer Show, did you start to reflect on, like, you know what, this was a really wild thing that happened that I didn't even consider it? Because I would imagine that when you're in the thick of it, even with the court show, right? When you're in the thick of it and when you're filming episodes and when, like, even when a season's done, there's another season coming up, you're not necessarily thinking about the experiences that are happening in front of your face because it's like, okay, on to the next one, on to the next one.
Yeah, it's, I have 2 views. I mean, obviously it depends on your mood of the day. I mean, if you're doing shows every day, obviously there are going to be days that your mind is kind of elsewhere. Although with the talk show, I could never just be daydreaming. And the reason, and it's the same with the court show, but with the talk show, I never knew what the show was about. I wasn't allowed to know. So when you see me in the audience carrying a card, all the card has on it are the names of the guests. And my job was to ask questions that you would ask sitting at home watching and then make jokes. But I was never allowed to know the subject matter because that made it more authentic. Otherwise, I'd be faking a reaction.
Right.
So I really never knew.
Or like leading them into
Yeah. So that's why in every segment, my first question always is, so what's going on? I introduce the name of the guest because I didn't know. And then they tell me their story, and then I try to think of some quips during the course of it. And so that forces you to focus.
Right, of course.
I mean, you can't,
So you're literally creating a television show out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like you have to take this scenario that's in front of your face, though.
It's like, get out there. They're going to tell you a story, and now interview them. And, and make some jokes. So, and then the final thought that I would do in commercial breaks, write something out. And
that quick?
Yeah, but, if you've been doing it for 27 years.
I guess so.
Just flows. Have you ever mid-show, once you figured out what the topic was, have you ever just been like, I can't in good conscience do this?
Well, the interesting part is you never know mid-show because the stories, the next guests may be different. There's in other words, the title of the show and the things you were talking about at the bottom of the screen, that isn't done until after the show because then they know, the show has a life of its own, and based on what we just did for the last hour,
right,
then they can come up with a title.
So you have to get through the whole thing and then go, what on earth did we just do?
Yeah.
What did we just do?
What a great gig for the writing staff.
Yeah.
Right? Just sit down, lay out, let you do the work.
Well, there never was a script
it.
because, first of all, you would expect them then to have to memorize it, which is not going to happen, or they have to read it off a prompter, and not all of them can read. So, so you can't do it. No, but the court show is obvious. The courtroom is like
real.
I'm a judge. It's real. I mean, and I can't be messing around there.
Right. Do you have any favorite? How many cases do you go through in a day when you're filming?
10 cases a day. We do 35 a week, so it's 3.5 days of actual. And the off week, because we tape every other week when we're in season, and in the off week, that's when they send me the 35 cases to research.
So you have to research now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a grown-up job.
Yeah.
Joking aside, I haven't, when I was doing my show, it required no work on my, I just had to try to be awake and funny, but there was no.
Just show up.
Yeah.
I love that. At 75, you're like, let's turn back on these engines.
Yeah.
See what we can do.
Yeah, at my age, I got to find the engine.
Yeah, so how did you get yourself into a rhythm of actually at home, like doing work for these shows when for literally decades, it's like it's just not part of your routine?
Well, because a great portion of my life I spend doing political work. So
right.
I'm working anyway, and then I do my weekly podcast, which is highly political.
Yes.
And so I'm always doing research on that. I'm always writing for that. So I'm used to kind of working, but the TV show never was work for me, except going around and promoting.
Of course.
But the actual show was, now for everyone else on the show, God bless them, they had to find the guests and all that. They really work.
A lot of work goes into the show. It's just not,
lot of work.
Not yours.
But right. And and I get it because obviously it's worked. Their idea was, no, we're not going to tell you what the show's about. And therefore, it's going to be organic as it's going.
That's great.
Yeah.
Dream gig.
Did you ever get to a place where you were like, I want to do more of this political stuff. I want people to understand that I have a brain in my head and that I have opinions and I want that out there. I can't keep doing this stuff and be taken seriously over here.
It never was that. Well, one, being taken seriously, I mean, that's just a vanity thing. So the politics to me is like religion. In other words, it's something I believe in. But I knew early on in life that I would make a living separately from politics.
I see.
Once you make a living in politics, you start compromising because you have to win the next election to put food on the table for your family. So if you want to keep your politics pure and not be corrupted either intellectually or financially, then you make your living doing something else. So I thought my living would be being a lawyer, but it turned out to be show business. But I've always viewed that as this is how I make my living, but my passion is always more political.
Right, this is going to fund my life and allow me to
it takes care of my
pursue
family.
this stuff.
It does all of that, but I've never, I always knew my TV show was exactly what it was, and I was never fooling myself. I never went around and told people, you've got to watch this show because it's, it's going to make you rich.
It's a deep dive into subcultures.
So, yeah. But, that's my job. I'm an entertainer. If I was hired to be a truck driver, I'd be driving a truck.
Right.
But that wouldn't shape what I believe politically or philosophically or whatever.
Has your family ever come to you with anything you've done on TV and gone like, you can't? What are you doing? You can't have your name on this. This is ridiculous.
They don't know I'm Jerry Springer.
You just keep it.
I told you, they think I sell insurance. Here's a true story with that.
Yeah.
I've been married 46 years. About 7 years ago, I'm in the middle of the Jerry Springer show, and we get a call in the middle of the show. For the executive producer waves me over and said, "Mickey just called," and in all the years, she's never called me during a, So I'm thinking, oh my God, you get a call from home, you think, oh geez.
Yeah.
So I run to the phone, I say, hi, what's going on? She says, oh my God. I said, what? She says, she took off her blouse. I said, what are you talking about? She says, I just watched your show. Is this what people are complaining about?
This is only 7 years ago.
Yeah. I I said, what do you think I've been doing for 20 years? She knew I had a crazy TV show, but that's not her interest. And, she's a very private person and doesn't, all the showbiz stuff is.
So she didn't know about the VHS series, Too Hot for TV?
No, I don't think she had any idea. I mean, I probably told her, we were making a tape and, she wants me to be happy. But,
she had no idea. I mean, it was like, Jerry, there was a period of time where your show, nudity was just, titty was all over your show.
To the show.
You did?
For sure, yeah. It was before porn was like abundant. So there were, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
That's got to feel good, Jerry.
I am so proud.
Pixelated titties on the TV at 2 p.m.
And did you call Jerry Dad?
All
through
the time.
TV?
That was a separate problem.
But, because we don't, when we watch television, and we do, but what we watch are, sports or cable news, and, like we binge sometimes on Suits, love that show.
Sure.
Or Doc Martin or something. But anyway, so.
But if you're watching.
But we don't, and frankly, it's not aimed at people my age.
That's
You
true.
know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, how could you not watch that show?
It's to corrupt the youth.
Yeah, if I were in college, and this is God's truth, if I was in college, there's no question I would have watched my show.
Of
I would have
course.
tried to get tickets to the show.
Great.
I get that.
Best
but it's
hangover
not
show of all
aimed
time.
at 75-year-old men,
So in we'll go back to the late 90s when the Too Hot for TV tapes were out, and they were huge. Like they were super successful.
Yeah.
And there would be commercials for them all the time. If you're watching TV with the wife and a Too Hot for TV Jerry Springer commercial comes on, is that a quick channel change? Like, let's see what else is on.
No, honestly, that's a great question. I don't ever remember that happening.
You don't?
No, it was never a big. Obviously, Mickey knew, I had a job in television, and she can see when we walk down the street, people going, Jerry,
Right.
so she knows that, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just she never really, not really, she never watched the show. And
Yeah.
it's not, I never watched the show. In other words, I just started Judge Jerry now, yesterday.
Right.
No, 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Was the first show.
Yeah.
And I was back in the hotel room because we're here on promotion. And it's on here in New York at noon, Channel 11.
12 and 12:30. They're giving you a whole hour on the CW.
Yes, because
on
it takes
Channel
me
11.
longer to reach a decision.
Yeah,
he can't think that quickly. Let's make it an hour show.
You can go to jerryspringer.com, by the way, because it's syndicated everywhere.
It's in every market in America.
That's incredible.
And my other show, the Jerry Springer Show, even in its heyday, was never in 100% of the country.
So this show is on in more markets. Judge Jerry.
Wow.
Yes, every
That's
market
incredible.
in America.
That's incredible.
I have nothing to. The salespeople, God bless them, but I think the reason probably is, and this is a guess, is there were sponsors that wouldn't touch my other show, which I get.
Yes.
But a court show, you can have your kids watch it.
Well, nobody's getting violent. Nobody's getting naked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you could have some of the blue blood sponsors, get in, and so therefore everyone's kind of in on it.
I'm curious if the original show in 2019 had it come out right now, if it would be considered punching down.
Oh, yeah. I think
Do you
there
know
would be real issues if the original show came out now.
Oh,
just
it couldn't.
because. Yeah, it couldn't, right?
No, it couldn't.
Yeah.
Couldn't.
What do you think about the increased sensitivity? You've seen it all in your time in entertainment.
Well, it's inevitable because we go through cycles. Human behavior hasn't changed in thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that has ever been on my show is already in the Bible, is already in Shakespeare, is already in great literature. So human behavior hasn't changed at all. What has changed is we now have technology. And where we used to gather in the town square or in the marketplace 2,000 years ago and talk about what our neighbors were doing, we still do the same thing, except because of technology, our neighborhood is now the planet Earth. So we know more about the Kardashians than we do about someone who lives 2 blocks away.
Right.
And so now, all of a sudden, everybody is into everyone else's business, and everybody shares these same stories through social media or television or whatever with the world. Obviously, once you share this, everyone is going to have an opinion. 2,000 years ago, if you told someone, hey, such and such is sleeping with so-and-so, that person would have had a response and say, oh, I don't want to hear that or whatever. Well, it's the same thing today, except today it's on the media.
Right.
That's the only thing that's changed. So we're now, because all of a sudden people are hearing all these stories, you're going to finally run into, the first reaction is going to be, oh my God, shock. And then we're going to go into the area of, oh man, there's decay. And finally, it's not going to be shocking anymore, and we'll be probably less judgmental. The good news is we're now used to everything. When I started my show in 91, there were protesters outside the studio in Cincinnati because we were doing a show on interracial dating. Protest, 1991.
In 91.
I was there as a 6-year-old.
Interracial dating. And then you move forward 20 years and we have an African-American president, who is a product of a interracial marriage. So, the culture has changed. What was shocking then is no longer shocking. In the good side is we've learned to accept relationships with people of different religions, different ethnic groups, etc. That's getting better. The negative is at times it becomes sleazy and bullying and that kind of stuff. So with every improvement in technology, you're going to get new issues. The good, with nuclear energy, good. But then you got the bomb.
Right.
And it's the same thing now. You got television, you got social media. There's great stuff about social media. There's great stuff about these iPhones. You always know where your kids are or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the bad stuff is the bullying that goes on. So that is inevitable with every age.
Do you think it also feeds itself? Meaning that, that now when somebody is, say, outraged about something, wants to protest something, wants to take something or someone down, it's not a group of, 10 people outside of a TV studio protesting. It's 100 people on Twitter, and then 100 more people see it and go like, oh, that's fun. I can jump on that bandwagon. And then it just kind of...
And we have to figure out a way to handle that. And one possibility will be that we no longer react to it. In other words, we have thicker skin. Mm-hmm. So, 20 years ago, if somebody said something about you, you might have been embarrassed. Now, like we found out, let's say, about Bill Clinton, mm-hmm. and then after a while, he still became a national hero. Mm-hmm. In other words, after a while, you just don't get, you put things in perspective. You don't judge someone's life based on an incident which was wrong and bad and immoral and all that, but it's not the whole person.
Right.
And we, in a sense, as a society, we grow up, and we're not outraged by everything. Some things we should be outraged about, but not everything.
Want more Jim and Sam? Catch up with full episodes and interviews from celebrity guests anytime on demand using the SiriusXM app.